All right, so this is Masada. This is the site of Herod the Great's remote fortress that he built in case things went south with the Romans or someone else, and he would have the opportunity to escape. This is built in a completely inaccessible hill or mountain overlooking the Dead Sea. The Romans eventually come and attack and destroy it by building this massive siege ramp you can see here in this picture. The siege ramp took them 3 years to build in order to defeat about 1,000 Jewish zealots who had escaped here in 70 AD. You can see here the up close construction of this, and here's the climb. It's quite the climb up to Masada, and you see the siege ramp there. You're walking up this. Israel has built this staircase besides the siege ramp, and originally it was built by Herod the Great. Herod the Great never really used this place. He had other palaces that he used, and we'll look at one of those, the Herodian. But this Masada place, after Herod the Great died, it basically went mostly unused. But at 70 AD, when the Romans destroyed the city of Jerusalem, there was a group of zealots that escaped, about 1,000 of them, and they came out to Masada with the intent of reorganizing and basically trying to make a new assault on Jerusalem to try to get their city back and to restore the worship and the Jewish life. And this was their goal. And you would think that the Roman military, led by Titus, would have said, it's 1,000 people that have moved literally 75 miles away from the city of Jerusalem in the middle of nowhere, and they would have just let it go. But the Roman government decided, the Roman general decided, Titus, we're not letting this go. And so they went out to Masada. They heard about this design by this group that they were going to reorganize and then basically attack the city of Jerusalem and take it back. The group holds up here for over 3 years. Originally the Romans thought, we'll just corner them and then they'll run out of food, and but that didn't work out at all. There was food and water for sure, and so eventually they built this massive siege ramp, and just before taking the top of Masada, the 1,000 people there commit suicide. Around 500 AD, though, a Byzantine church is put here. This is the Byzantine church, and they put that church there on top of this hill for a series of monks. Here's some of the old Herod the Great palace on top of Masada. There you can see actually the military installation by the Romans that they built while they were taking over Masada. There's one of their siege ramp tools, ramming tools. Inside the Masada complex, though, there are these incredibly ornate floors with tiles. They decorated the floors. Is really quite stunning. The whole inside of this thing is really quite stunning. And in addition, on the top, this massive area on top, there's a second layer that if you go down this set of stairs, you can go down to this landing area that has a beautiful view of the Dead Sea and looking out over En Gedi and over that whole area down the western shore of the Dead Sea. It's rugged terrain. Back when Herod the Great built this, the Dead Sea was a much higher volume of water, and now the Dead Sea is split into two parts. It's so low now that there's really two different lakes, salt lakes, and the Dead Sea sits at 12,000 feet below sea level. So it is the saltiest body of water on the planet, and this is the lowest altitude on the planet at 12,000 feet below sea level. And so this second layer that Herod the Great built is overlook of the Dead Sea. It's really quite stunning. They're in the midst of renewing parts of it. They took good chunks of it and took it to the museum in Jerusalem, and now what they're doing is replicating what that original design would have looked like with work here at Masada. And so you'll see here in a minute, there's an artist who's literally painting on the walls on the second layer to try to replicate what was once there. On the top, there's bathhouse. There's a synagogue that got built during the revolt and the Jewish zealots who were there. There was a synagogue built up there, one of about 7 or 8 synagogues that predate the destruction of the temple. And the Masada group, though, led to quite a bit of Jewish desire for, even today, to eventually one day come back to Israel and take over Jerusalem. As you know, now Israel is a nation. 1948, they return with about 600,000 Jews inhabiting the Holy Land. And now there's about 10 million people in Israel. About 7 million of them are Jewish. There's about 15 million Jewish people on the planet. But Masada became one of the cries, and one of the reasons for that is the last statement that this leader in Masada made before they took their own lives and that kind of thing, was that their hope was one day Jerusalem. And so even today, at the end of the Passover Seder meal, the last statement that is often made at Jewish Seder meals is, next year, Jerusalem. And it's not just that I want to make a vacation trip to Jerusalem, but there's really this hopeful idea of restoring the Jewish life of Israel from the time of King David all the way back to King David, and certainly to recover the religious, spiritual life of that as well. And so this is quite the climb. This is really strenuous hiking, and you have to climb quite a few stairs. I think someone marked today that we did 72 flights of stairs by the time it's all said and done between Masada and the Herodian. And there's the restoration project taking place. You can see the guy painting there on the wall. I think I have a picture of it here in a minute. But this lookout here from the porch is really quite striking. So this is the restoration project here on this level. And then here you have a view of the Dead Sea. And you can see the Dead Sea down the western shore. You can see out in the distance is the En-Gedi. So anyway, so that's Masada. That's the very famous location of Herod's palace, and eventually the last stand of the Jewish zealots during the destruction of Jerusalem in 70 AD.